Hi, I'm Maxxie. Welcome to a new episode of Fitness Kitchen. Today's episode is going to be a special episode and the start of a whole special series. There will be no recipes in today's video because I recently realized for most people who is trying to get a better physique, random recipes don't really work. You try it for one day and that's that. So before I share more recipes, I made this video to give a 101 on some nutrition facts that you need to know on how and what to eat to get a better physique and how I eat to keep low body fat and defined muscle lines. So today's video is going to be divided into three major parts. The first one is about how you gain fat and how to lose them. The second part is about how to eat and eat what at what time. You know, eating doesn't always get you fat. I cook a lot and I eat a lot, but I have been maintaining a low body fat and defined muscle lines. So in this part, I'm going to show you how I did that. And the final part is going to be about why not eating doesn't work well. So now let's get started. Okay, the first part, how you gain fat and how to lose them. If you want to know how to get rid of your fat, you need to know how they came here in the first place. Fat is what our body uses to store energy to survive. Basically speaking, whenever you have extra energy, extra calories, your body stores them as fat. So whenever you have a deficit in energy, your body burns those fat. That sounds quite simple, right? You eat, you get more fat. You don't, you lose fat. But actually, eating doesn't always result in getting fat. It depends on what you eat, when you eat them, and how you eat them. For example, if you binge and eating a lot of meat, it doesn't always lead to getting fat. But if what you binge is bread, it's more likely to get fat. And if what you binge is a lot of croissants or even cakes, you'll definitely get fat real quickly. So it's simple, but it's not that simple. You don't need to give up the pleasure of eating altogether, but you need to learn how to eat. And that brings us to the second part. Okay, the second part, how to eat and eat what at what time. First, what actually are the calories that we eat? Pay attention, this is Dietetics 101. The calories we get from food are in three forms: carbs, fat, and protein. First, carbs, and I believe is what many people like the most. What foods are carbs? Bread, pastas, rice, noodles, and anything else made from grains. And also sugar. Sugars are pure carbs, which makes fruits almost pure carbs, because fruits are typically water balloons full of sugars. These foods are carbs. And carbs are the most direct energy source our body uses. That's why you like them so much. And whenever you have too much carbs and don't use them up immediately, they turn into fat and get stored very easily. So you should not binge carbs, don't binge bread, don't binge pasta, and definitely don't binge anything that has sugar in it. Okay, then the second kind, fat. What foods are fat? The most obvious kind is oil, of course, and then butter and cream. And nuts, they're predominantly fat. And of course, the fat on the animal's skins. And if that meat is from mammals like pig and cows, they may have some fat intertwined among their muscles. But birds don't have that, so chicken meat is pure muscles. And some fish contain a fair amount of fat, for example salmon. And avocados, a very special kind of fruit, it contains a lot of fat. So these foods are fat. And fat, as mentioned before, is the storage energy our body uses. Our body only relies on fat for energy when there is not enough carbs. And I already have another video on this channel talking about this. It talked about why you don't always burn fat when you exercise. It has something to do with your insulin and when you eat and how long it is between your two meals. So if you want to know more about that, watch that video. Okay, here, let's go back to fat. So basically speaking, of course, you eat extra fat, you grow extra fat. And if you have enough carbs there, you store the fat, you don't burn the fat. Sounds pretty evil, right? It's almost like the food that guarantees to destroy your physique. But be careful, what we talked is extra fat and when there is enough carbs. So, if you use fatty foods to replace the carbs as your major energy source, you don't necessarily grow fat, because those fats you eat are turned into energy and used up immediately. And actually, if you use fatty foods as the major energy source of your body is in a highly efficient way in burning fat. So it's much easier for you to stay slim and maintain a defined muscle lines. That's how low-carb diet works. I sometimes go on low-carb diet for a while, because usually in those periods I can enjoy more desserts. It's way much easier to make desserts into low-carb than into low-fat. Okay, simply speaking, eating fat, go on low-carb diet, works. It can help you get a good physique. So now, after that we have talked about carbs and fat, I think it has become clear that the takeaway here is you either go low-fat or you go low carbs. Choose only one of them to be your major energy source at one time. And then it's not that hard for you to get slim, for you to get shredded. Okay, after these two types, carbs and fat, the last form of calories we take from food is protein. Protein is the kind of food that you can eat extra. Protein is what makes your muscle grow. It's what sustains your organs. Basically, it's almost what made your whole body. So, muscle building is in fact use the energy from carbs or fat to assimilate as much protein as you can. So generally speaking, protein is good, protein is safe. If you want to binge food, binge protein. Though it can change into carbs or even fat, but the biological process of that is very long and very slow and has to be under some strict conditions. So you don't need to worry about eating protein. Getting fat by eating too much protein is like a sci-fi movie, you can forget that. Okay, then, what foods are protein? Simply put, all kinds of lean meat, lean animal flesh, like seafood and chicken breast, they are proteins. And eggs are not pure, but they are predominantly proteins. And these two, meat and eggs, are the most direct sources of high amount of protein. And then milk, animal milk, I mean cow milk, goat milk, they are predominantly protein, but their problem is that they are too diluted. So the amount of protein you get from milk is almost ignorable. Don't rely on them as your major source of protein. But if they are made into protein powder, then it's different. That's very concentrated protein. Okay, then legumes, soybeans, peas, and the legume products like tofu and tempeh. They are also sources of large amount of proteins. And they are completely plant-based, good news for vegan. But the problem with legumes is that they are also high in carbs, so you should only eat them in low-fat diet. Okay, and that's all the three forms of the calories we get from food: carbs, fat, and proteins. Now let's go to the third part. Okay, now the third part. Why simply not eating doesn't always work well. I mean, it looks like simple math, right? You don't eat, you don't get new calories, so you burn the stored fat. But if you really do this, you would definitely find it never worked. The first problem for this is that not eating consumes too much willpower, and it affects your emotion. So it's very hard to keep a lifestyle like this because you are not always in your right mind. You make wrong decisions all the time and you sabotage your own plan. And the second problem for not eating is that once you fast too much or fast one time for too long, your body goes into the survival mode. It tries to burn less energy and it tries to store more fat. Simply speaking, you feel worse, you try to eat more, you are more likely to eat more, and you get more efficient in storing the fat. So you can't fast too much. You have to still eat most of your meals in normal portions. Even if you go fasting, I would only recommend that you skip only one meal each day. Actually, that's what I do when sometimes I do go fasting. That's how you prevent your body from going to the survival mode. Okay, and after that, the last problem of not eating is that we love eating. I mean, what's the point of looking good when you are always suffering? And that's why I started doing this channel. That's why I started the Fitness Kitchen. Because I want a good physique, but I also want to enjoy food. And that is pretty much all we have for this episode. If you like this video or find it useful, Please tap that like button and subscribe to my channel. And you can also follow me on Instagram, where I share my fitness progress and other things in my life. And thank you all for watching. I'll see you in the next episode, and happy cooking. Take care.